$250 to $400 an hour. That's not what a surgeon makes. That's not what a top-tier lawyer bills. That's what a guy with a radar device charges to scan a piece of concrete. No degree, no medical board, no bar exam, just a $35,000 machine, some training, and a construction industry that will literally pay anything to avoid cutting through the wrong thing. And that's just one of the businesses on this list. After studying hundreds of real operator stories, tax filings, and market reports published in 2025 and 2026, I found 20 businesses that are practically screaming for more people to get into them. These aren't theory. These aren't maybe someday ideas from a business school textbook. These are businesses with real revenue, real margins, and real demand that is only getting louder. Some of them require $5,000 to start. Some require $50,000. But every single one of them has operators making more money than most people with fancy degrees ever will. And the last one on this list might have the highest profit margins I've ever come across. My name is John, and I've been digging into how ordinary people build real wealth. Let's get into it. Business 20, tree stump grinding. Here's a business you can launch with one machine, one trailer, and 0 employees. Tree removal companies hate grinding stumps. It ties up their $150,000 bucket truck and a 4-man crew for a $200 add-on job. So what do the smart operators do? They subcontract the stump work out. That's where you come in. A used self-propelled stump grinder costs $10,000 to $28,000. You charge $5 to $10 per inch of stump diameter, which works out to $150 to $350 per average stump. Grind 4 to 6 stumps a day, and you're looking at $800 to $2,000 in daily revenue, with gross margins of 75% to 85%. One operator on our sweaty startup described handing out business cards to 10 local tree companies and having a full-time route within 2 weeks with 0 marketing spend. The downside? Teeth dull fast on rocks and hidden debris. You have to call 811 for utility markouts every single time. And a flying rock can shatter a patio window or dent a parked car if you're not careful with your debris shields. But with net margins of 40% to 55%, most operators forgive the dust. Business 19, commercial ice machine cleaning and sanitization. Here's something most people don't think about. The FDA classifies ice as a food. That means every commercial ice machine in every restaurant, hotel, and hospital is subject to health code inspection. And here's what those inspections routinely find: pink slime, black mold, and mineral scaling that nobody's touched in 18 months. A dedicated ice machine sanitization service charges $250 to $450 per machine for a full teardown, descale, and food-safe sanitization. The startup cost? $6,000 to $20,000. Chemical and consumable costs are tiny. Build a route of 150 restaurants, each with 1 to 2 machines serviced 2 to 4 times a year, and you're generating $150,000 to $250,000 in automated recurring revenue with net margins of 35% to 48%. Here's the part nobody mentions. Refrigeration technicians don't want this work. They bill $150 an hour for compressor repairs. They don't want to spend 3 hours disassembling water curtains and scrubbing bioslime. That gap between what they won't do and what needs doing is your entire business. The downside? You're working around restaurant service hours, usually 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., and the conditions are genuinely nasty. But health inspectors check ice machine distribution tubes during every surprise visit, and restaurant owners know it. Business 18, medical courier service. Hospitals, labs, compounding pharmacies, and veterinary clinics need biological specimens, blood samples, and medications transported on strict temperature-controlled timelines. A standard scheduled route delivery pays $30 to $50 per stop. Stat emergency runs, the ones where a hospital needs a blood sample across town in 45 minutes, pay $90 to $200 per trip. Startup costs are $5,000 to $18,000, mostly a reliable vehicle, commercial insurance, temperature-controlled coolers, and HIPAA certification. Solo operators report net margins of 20% to 35%. According to the business research company, the global medical courier market hit $7.6 billion in 2025 and is growing at over 5% annually. The upside is that healthcare demand never drops, recession or not. You can run 15 to 25 stops per day on established routes. The downside? It's 24/7. Stat calls come at 2 a.m. on a Sunday, and if your cooler fails and a $4,000 specimen is ruined, that liability lands squarely on you. Business 17, window tinting and solar film installation. Not automotive tinting, flat glass, residential and commercial buildings. This is one of the lowest startup cost trades I've ever found. You can get started for $2,500 to $10,000. A standard residential job bills at $800 to $3,000. A A commercial office floor can hit $4,000 to $25,000. One installer on our Sweaty Startup described a single 3-day office building job that invoiced $1,650 with $30,200 in material costs. The building owner cut their summer AC peak load by 22%. Gross margins regularly hit 65% to 85% because the film itself costs only 15% to 20% of the total job price. According to Grand View Research, the global window film market is valued at over $14 billion and growing at 7% annually. Here's the thing. The real money isn't in making windows darker. It's in energy savings, UV fade protection, and increasingly security film. Schools and corporate offices are now mandating anti-shatter security film on ground floor glass, and that segment charges $15 to $35 per square foot. The downside: one dust speck trapped under the film means stripping the entire window and starting over. Apply the wrong absorption film to double-pane low-E glass, and you risk thermal shock cracking. Patience and technical precision aren't optional in this trade. They're the whole skill. Business 16, outdoor lighting installation. Low-voltage landscape lighting operates at 12 volts, which means in most states you don't need a master electrician's license to install it. You charge $250 to $450 per installed fixture, and the fixtures cost $60 to $120 wholesale. Average residential project runs $3,500 to $12,000 with net margins of 30% to 45%. But here's what makes this business brilliant. The sales technique that closes deals more than 80% of the time, according to multiple operators on our landscaping, is the night demo. You show up at dusk with temporary battery-powered brass fixtures, set them along the driveway and architectural peaks, and let the homeowner see the transformation in real time. Price objections disappear when someone is standing in their front yard watching their home look like a magazine cover. According to Grand View Research, the outdoor lighting market is valued at $16.8 billion in 2026 and growing at 8.2% annually. And in Q4, you pivot to holiday lighting installations. That seasonal add-on alone can generate $50,000 to $100,000 in net revenue over 8 weeks. The downside? Night sales appointments are required for the demos. Trenching through rocky, root-filled soil is labor-intensive, and other landscapers running aerators can cut your buried wires, triggering warranty callbacks. Business 15, boat cleaning and marine detailing. If you live anywhere near a coast, lake, or marina, listen closely. Boat owners are dramatically better customers than car owners. Someone who owns a $150,000 center console doesn't haggle over a $1 to $500 detail. A standard wash and wax runs $15 to $35 per foot of vessel length. Full ceramic coating and wet sanding restoration runs $55 to $110 per foot. A 30-foot cruiser generates $150 to $3,300 per detail. Startup costs are $3,500 to $14,000, and net margins hit 45% to 60%. According to Data Intello, the marine detailing market is estimated at $2.1 billion with a 6.3% growth rate. Here's what nobody tells you. Once you detail one boat on a dock, and it looks spotless. Next to 15 neglected hulls, every other boat owner on that pier notices. Your schedule fills through pure word of mouth without spending a dime on advertising. Set up bi-weekly recurring wash contracts at $200 to $300 per month per slip. And you have predictable recurring cash flow that doesn't depend on one-off jobs. The downside? It's physically brutal. Buffing hull sides while balancing on a narrow floating dock in August heat is not for everyone. And off-season winter slowdowns in northern markets can gut your revenue for months. Let's do the simple math on that last one. 20 monthly wash contracts at $250 each is $5,000 a month in recurring revenue before you touch a single detail job. That's $60,000 a year from maintenance alone. That's the power of recurring income, and it's a pattern you'll see repeating across this entire list. Business 14, erosion control and hydro seeding. Here's a business that exists because of one thing, the law. The EPA Clean Water Act requires sediment and erosion control on any construction site disturbing more than 1 acre. That's not optional. It's not a suggestion. Builders literally cannot release their municipal bond deposits without a final stabilization sign-off from city inspectors. And hydro seeding costs builders 75% less than laying sod. You charge $3,500 to $7,500 per acre, with material costs running about 25% to 40% of that. A total hydroseeder costs $12,000 to $35,000. Net margins hit 25% to 40%. Experienced contractors in R.Arch landscaping describe spraying an entire acre in under 2 hours and generating $2,000 in profit before lunch. According to Market Research Future, this market is valued at $1.9 billion and growing at nearly 5% annually. The downside? It's seasonal in cold climates, and you're entirely dependent on the construction market cycle. When builders stop building, your phone stops ringing. But when they're building, and right now they are, you are legally essential. Business 13, parking garage cleaning and power scrubbing. This is not residential pressure washing. This is specialized commercial facility maintenance for multi-story parking garages, airport decks, and commercial plazas. You charge $0.08 to $0.20 per square foot, and a single 2 to 3 deck parking garage generates $4,500 to $12,000 per visit. Multi-facility hospital and airport contracts can hit $20,000 to $50,000. Net margins run 25% to 38%. Here's the barrier to entry that protects you from every guy with a consumer pressure washer and a dream. The EPA Clean Water Act. You cannot let oily wash water run into public storm drains. Contractors who invest in water reclaim vacuum systems and containment berms win multi-year property management contracts because property managers simply cannot risk the environmental fines. The work happens between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. when the decks are empty. It's night shift work in enclosed concrete spaces that require carbon monoxide ventilation equipment, but one garage contract often equals 30 residential driveway jobs. And property managers who own multiple buildings hand you multiple contracts at once. Business 12, commercial overhead door and dock leveler repair. Every warehouse, distribution center, and retail loading bay in America has overhead roll-up doors and hydraulic dock levelers. When they break, semi-trucks are idling at $150 an hour and entire shipping schedules collapse. Facility managers don't ask for 3 quotes. They pull out a corporate card and say, "Get here now." Average repair ticket runs $750 to $2,500. Emergency after-hours calls hit $1,200 to $4,500. Build a quarterly preventative maintenance route, and you're looking at predictable recurring revenue above $30,000 per month. Startup costs are $25,000 to $60,000 for a service truck, heavy trade tools, and initial parts inventory. Net margins run 18% to 28%. According to Grandview Research, the commercial door market is projected to reach $4.9 billion by 2030, driven by the relentless growth of e-commerce fulfillment centers. The downside is real. Commercial torsion springs store deadly torque. This is a high skill, high risk trade that demands respect for the equipment. And corporate customers pay on net 30 to net 60 terms. So cash flow management isn't just important, it's survival. Business 11, crawl space encapsulation. Nobody wants to crawl on their belly through a dark 3-foot space filled with spider webs, mold, and crumbling insulation. That's exactly why this business works. The boring factor is more than just an advantage here. It's a fortress. According to Cognitive Market Research, the crawl space encapsulation market was valued at $920 million in 2025 and is growing at 9.3% annually. A typical residential job quotes at $5,500 to $14,000. Materials cost about $1,800 for heavy-duty vapor barrier, foundation pins, and a commercial dehumidifier. 2 days of hard crawling yields $5,000 or more in clean profit. Net margins hit 22% to 32%. Here's the thing most people miss. Realtors and home inspectors are your free lead generation engine. Every home inspection that finds moisture, mold, or standing water in a crawl space generates a referral directly to you. And here's the sales pitch that closes every time. About 50% of the air you breathe on your first floor gets pulled up from your crawl space through what's called the stack effect. Once homeowners learn that they've been breathing crawl space air, the sale closes itself. The downside? Confined space hazards are real. Toxic mold spores, rodent droppings, and fiberglass exposure require proper respirators and safety protocols. And if you trap moisture behind an improperly sealed wall, you create a worse problem than the one you were hired to fix. Now we enter the second half of the list. Still with me? Good. Because this is where the businesses get more interesting, the margins get wider, and the competition gets thinner. Business 10, temporary fencing rental. This is as close to passive recurring income as you can get in a service business. You deliver modular chain link panels to a construction site, clamp them together in 3 hours, and collect $2,400 every single month for 14 months while the building goes up. Nobody touches the fence. Nobody maintains it. It just sits there and bills. Rental rates run $1.50 to $3.50 per linear foot per month, plus a delivery and mobilization fee of $500 to $1,500. Gross margins hit 65% to 80% once your panels are amortized, and panels pay for themselves within 6 to 9 months of continuous rental. They last 7 to 10 years with negligible maintenance. Startup costs are $32,000 to $95,000 for the initial panel inventory, delivery truck, and storage yard. Net margins run 25% to 38%. According to the business research company, this market is valued at $4.8 billion globally. The downside? It's capital intensive up front. You need a secure industrial yard for storage. General contractors can take 60 to 90 days to pay invoices. And heavy equipment on job sites bends and damages panels regularly, but the math is undeniable. Buy the panels once, rent them for a decade. Think about it like this. If you buy an ice cream cone, you eat it once. If you rent the ice cream cart to someone every month, you earn every month. Temporary fencing is an ice cream cart that sits on a construction site and pays you while you sleep. Business 9, artificial turf installation. Water restrictions are only getting stricter. California, Nevada, and Arizona are paying homeowners $2 to $5 per square foot in cash rebates just to rip out their grass. That's government money subsidizing your customers' projects before you even show up. According to Mordor Intelligence, the global artificial turf market is valued at $7.31 billion in 2026 and growing at an aggressive 12.3% annually. A typical 1,200 square foot backyard job bills at $14,000. Base aggregate, turf roll, and infill cost around $5,200. A 3-person crew finishes the install in 2.5 days, netting over $5,000 in profit. Net margins run 28% to 38%. The demand is splitting into 2 clear niches. Pet owners who are sick of muddy paws and dead grass, and homeowners drowning in $350 monthly water bills who want a yard that never needs mowing, watering, or fertilizing. The downside? It's backbreaking excavation work. You're moving 5 to 15 tons of crushed base per job. And if you get the drainage grading wrong, water pools on the surface, the entire install fails, and the warranty claim can bankrupt the job. Quality base prep is everything. Business 8, commercial refrigeration repair. When a restaurant has $40,000 of spoiled meat in a walk-in freezer at 10 p.m. on a Friday, they will pay whatever it takes to fix the problem within 2 hours. That's the entire economics of commercial refrigeration repair in one sentence. Standard labor rates run $110 to $185 per hour with 1.5 to 2 times multipliers for emergency and after-hours calls. Preventive maintenance contracts at $250 to $500 per month per restaurant location cover your baseline overhead. According to Grand View Research, this market exceeds $51 billion globally and is growing at nearly 5% annually. Startup costs run $20,000 to $55,000. You need an EPA Section 608 universal certification and a state mechanical license. Net margins are 15% to 25%, but emergency call premiums push effective hourly earnings considerably higher. The boring factor is the advantage. Nobody wants to diagnose a leaking expansion valve in a greasy kitchen at midnight. That's precisely why you can charge what you charge. The downside? Brutal on-call schedules that include weekends and holidays, working in tight, hot, grease-coated spaces, and corporate restaurant chains often pay on 30 to 90-day cycles that test your patience and your cash reserves. Business 7, spray foam insulation. Energy codes are tightening across the country. The IECC 2024 updates and the Inflation Reduction Act tax credits of $200 per year for insulation upgrades are pushing demand to record levels. According to Grand View Research, the spray foam market is valued at $3.2 billion and growing at 6.7% annually. Average job tickets range from $2,500 for an attic retrofit to $20,000 or more for a full custom build or barn dominium. A single rig crew doing 2 to 4 jobs per week generates $250,000 to $650,000 in annual revenue with net margins of 20% to 28%. Startup costs run $50,000 to $100,000 for the mobile rig, proportioner, heated hose systems, and safety equipment, including supplied air respirators. Here's what nobody tells you. This is chemical engineering disguised as construction. If your A to B chemical ratio is off by 5% or the substrate temperature is too cold, the foam fails to cure properly, off-gasses a persistent fishy odor, and costs $10,000 or more in tear-out liability. Experienced operators on our spray foam recommend apprenticing on an established crew for at least 6 months before going solo. Master the equipment maintenance and temperature monitoring protocols, and you print high-ticket margins that fiberglass bat installers can only dream about. Business 6, aerial drone inspection. Real drone. Here's what nobody tells you about drones. Real estate photography is a race to the bottom at $75 per shoot. The money is in actionable engineering deliverables. A radiometric thermal flight over a flat commercial warehouse roof at dusk can locate exactly where moisture is trapped beneath the membrane. Show a building owner which 10% of their roof insulation needs patching, and you save them $200,000 on a full roof replacement. Your invoice? $500. That's not a hard sell. That's a no-brainer. Standard billing runs $175 to $450 per hour. Solar farm thermal inspections charge $15 to $35 per megawatt, translating to $500 to $4,000 per day. Cell tower inspections run $800 to $2,200 per structure. Startup costs are $12,000 to $28,000 for an enterprise-grade thermal drone, FAA Part 107 commercial license, and data processing software like Drone Deploy or Pix4D. Net margins hit 30% to 48%. According to Fortune Business Insights, the drone inspection market is projected to reach $34 billion. The downside: rain, high winds, and snow ground your flights without notice. Airspace authorization near Class B airports adds bureaucratic delay. And if your reports lack specialized thermal analysis, clients will eventually train their own pilots and cut you out. Business 5, fiber optic splicing, and low voltage wiring. The Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program is funneling $42 billion into internet infrastructure across America. Every mile of fiber that gets buried needs someone to splice it. Every new data center, every smart building, every hospital network needs low voltage cable terminated and tested. According to Grand View Research, the low voltage wiring market alone is valued at $174 billion and growing. Fusion splicers bill at $75 to $150 per hour for standard work, and $100 to $250 per splice on emergency fiber restoration calls. Startup costs run $15,000 to $45,000 for a fusion splicer, OTDR testing equipment, and a fitted van. Net margins are 15% to 24%. Here's the part nobody mentions. The real money isn't splicing for residential fiber rollout contractors who squeeze you down to $5 per splice on high volume runs. It's subcontracting for electrical contractors who win commercial building projects, data centers, and hospital expansions, but lack the $15,000 in specialized certifiers and fiber tooling to terminate and test the runs. Provide full OTDR test trace reports and your pricing power jumps immediately. The downside? Delicate glass fibers require surgical cleanliness in dusty construction environments. Equipment theft from work vans is a major industry problem. And the initial depreciation on a $12,000 splicer hits hard in year one. Let's do the simple math. If you complete just 3 commercial splice and test jobs per week at $1,500 each, that's $4,500 a week, $234,000 a year. With a 2-person crew, no storefront, no warehouse, just a van and expertise that most people don't have. Business 4, fire damper inspection and testing. NFPA 80 requires that every fire damper in every commercial building be inspected 1 year after installation and every 4 years thereafter. Hospitals must inspect every 6 years under Joint Commission requirements. That's not optional. Buildings can lose their certificate of occupancy without documented compliance. You charge $40 to $90 per damper, and commercial buildings typically have 100 to 600 dampers. That's $5,000 to $45,000 per building inspection. But here's where the real math gets interesting. Between 15% and 30% of all dampers fail inspection due to painted over tracks, broken fusible links, or jammed actuators. Each deficiency repair bills at $150 to $450. So you inspect 400 dampers for $20,000, find 80 failures, and bill an additional $25,000 in repairs and retesting. A single building visit generates $45,000. Net margins hit 32% to 45%. Startup costs are $15,000 to $40,000 for specialized testing tools, compliance reporting software, fusible link inventory, and NFPA certifications. The downside? You're crawling through ceiling plenums and tight duct spaces with a bore scope, photographing and documenting every single damper. It's meticulous, physically uncomfortable work. And scheduling around active hospital and office operations adds logistical complexity. But the revenue is mandatory, predictable, and recurring on a legally enforced cycle. Business 3, silicone roof coating and restoration. A full commercial flat roof tear-off and replacement costs $15 to $25 per square foot. A silicone roof coating costs $3.50 to $7 per square foot and extends the roof's life by 15 to 20 years. Now do the math for a building owner sitting on a 20,000 square foot warehouse. Full replacement, $300,000 to $500,000. Silicone coating, $70,000 to $110,000. And here's the kicker that closes deals. A coating is 100% tax deductible in year one under Section 179 as a maintenance expense, while a brand new roof must be depreciated over 39 years. Building owners don't need convincing. They need someone who can actually do the work. According to Fortune Business Insights, this market is valued at $2.8 billion. Material costs run $120 to $2 per square foot. A small 3 to 4 person crew generates $400,000 to $1.2 million annually with net margins of 20% to 35%. Startup costs are $30,000 to $75,000 for a high-volume airless spray rig and surface prep equipment. The downside? You cannot coat over wet insulation. Every job requires an infrared moisture scan to identify and cut out saturated areas first. Silicone is dangerously slippery on the roof surface during application. And you need a 24 to 48 hour rain-free weather window, which means Mother Nature controls your schedule. Morgan Housel wrote in Same as Ever that the businesses that survive aren't the ones that predict the future. They're the ones that solve problems people already have. Every single business on this list solves a problem that already exists and already has paying customers. None of them require you to educate the market or convince anyone they have a new need. The need is already there. The demand is already real. The only thing missing is more people willing to do the work. Business 2, industrial equipment calibration. Every manufacturing plant, aerospace shop, medical device factory, and automotive supplier in America must have their instruments calibrated to maintain ISO certification. If a factory's torque, wrenches, pressure gauges, and temperature controllers aren't annually certified with traceable documentation, they fail their audit and risk losing their license to operate. You charge $200 to $2,500 per technician per day for on-site mobile calibration. The per-tool rate of $35 to $150 seems modest until you realize a single machine shop has 200 to 400 tools that need annual certification. That's $15,000 to $40,000 per client per year. Net margins run 28% to 42%. According to iMark Group, the global calibration services market is valued at nearly $8 billion and growing. Startup costs run $40,000 to $120,000 for traceable reference standards and ISO 17025 accreditation. But here's what makes this business nearly impossible to lose once you've won it. The moment you generate a manufacturer's compliance certificates, switching to a different calibration provider becomes an audit risk for them. Their quality manager won't touch it. Client retention runs above 95% year after year. Bo Burlingham described this kind of business in Small Giants. Companies that choose depth over breadth, that become so embedded in their clients' operations that leaving isn't worth the disruption. The downside? Deep technical expertise is required. The ISO 17025 accreditation process is rigorous with annual third-party surveillance audits, and the upfront cost for master reference standards is significant. But once you clear those barriers, you have a business with the kind of recurring revenue and client lock-in that SaaS companies spend millions trying to build. And now, the business I said might have the highest profit margins I've ever come across. Business 1, concrete scanning with ground penetrating radar. A construction crew needs to core drill through a concrete slab to run plumbing. One problem. Inside that slab there could be rebar, live electrical conduits, fiber optic cables, or post-tension cables under 33,000 pounds of force. Hit a post-tension cable and you get explosive tension release, catastrophic structural damage, and $15,000 to $50,000 in emergency repairs, plus an OSHA investigation. So what does every general contractor do before they cut? They call a concrete scanner. You show up with a ground-penetrating radar unit that costs $22,000 to $42,000, scan the area for 2 to 4 hours, mark what's buried inside, and hand them a detailed report. Your bill? $600 to $2,200 per visit. Your billing rate? $250 to $400 per hour. Your material costs? Zero. No inventory, no consumables, no replacement parts. Just the radar unit and your expertise at reading radargram data. According to Market Research Future, this market is valued at $650 million and growing at 8.5% annually. Net margins hit 45% to 60%. That is not a typo. A single technician doing 4 to 5 scanning jobs per week generates $180,000 to $380,000 in annual revenue. Scale to 3 technicians and you're approaching $700,000 or more. The downside is real. The equipment is expensive and the learning curve is steep. Reading radargram hyperbolas to distinguish rebar patterns from live PVC conduits requires serious training. A misread doesn't just cost money, it can cost someone their life. But for those who master it, this is one of the highest paid specialized trades in construction, and most people have never even heard of it. And that's the uncomfortable truth behind this entire list. The most profitable businesses aren't the ones everyone's talking about. They're the ones nobody wants to think about. Crawling through dark spaces, scanning concrete in a parking deck, cleaning pink slime out of ice machines at 6 a.m, grinding stumps in the heat. The boring factor isn't just an advantage, it's a moat. It's the reason these businesses have margins that would make a tech founder jealous and competition levels that would make a franchise owner weep. Let me paint you a picture. Two people decide to start businesses in the same year. The first, call him Marcus, spends 14 months building a SaaS app. He reads about AI every morning. He pitches investors over coffee. He redesigns his landing page 6 times. He posts about his journey on social media. His total revenue after 14 months, $2,200. The second, a woman named Claire, buys a stump grinder and starts subcontracting for tree companies. Within 3 months, she's grinding 5 stumps a day at $200 each. She adds crawl space encapsulation in year 2 after a home inspector she met starts sending her referrals. By month 18, Claire is doing $35,000 a month with 2 employees and 0 investors. Nobody interviews Claire on a podcast. Nobody writes about her on social media. But Claire doesn't care. Claire pays cash for things. Here's the lesson that connects every one of these 20 businesses. The money isn't hiding in the exciting ideas. It never was. It's hiding in the problems that are too boring, too dirty, too uncomfortable, or too invisible for most people to notice. But the demand is real. The margins are real. The operators doing this work are building quiet, unglamorous wealth while everyone else scrolls through another article about the next app or AI tool that's supposedly going to change everything. The question isn't which of these businesses is best. The question is, which one can you start with what you have right now? If this video opened your eyes to even one opportunity you hadn't considered, hit that like button. It genuinely helps, more than you know. Subscribe if you want to keep seeing real businesses with real numbers, no hype, no fluff. And tell me in the comments which of these 20 businesses surprised you the most. I'm John, and I'll see you in the next video.